There are moments in every person's life when they face intense adversity. They're crucibles that forge who they become as individuals and as leaders. Now more than ever, we need leaders who are called to a higher standard, focused on leaving it better than they found it and paying it forward to the next generations. Now, let's join Fire Chief Randy Bruegman as he speaks with leaders from all walks of life, as he explores and learns from their personal journeys and the crucibles that have forged them into better leaders and better people.
Leadership is never easy, but when you're guiding one of the largest law enforcement agencies in the country through civil unrest, cultural change, and public scrutiny, every decision matters. In this episode, I sit down with Commissioner Sean Duryee of the California Highway Patrol, a $3.2 billion agency with over 11,000 employees. With over 3 decades of experience at all levels of the organization, he brings a rare credibility and steadiness to the role under constant pressure. We talk about what it means to lead when the mission's on the line, when integrity must be modeled from the top, and how to pursue meaningful change in a tradition-bound organization. You'll also hear about how Commissioner Duryee navigated seasons of national tension and what it takes to build trust, both inside and outside the department. My name is Chief Randy Bruegman, and this is the Leadership Crucible Podcast. Well, Commissioner Duryee, thanks for being on the Leadership Crucible Podcast. It's just an honor to have you on the show.
Chief, the honor's mine. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. You know, I've had the opportunity over the years, as working in California for so many years, of working alongside your people, and just always impressed with the professionalism that they bring to their job each and every day, and just wanted to share that with you. And I'm sure you coming up through the ranks see that every day.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's a great organization. I pinch myself every day just to be a part of it in some way, and then to be sitting at the helm as the commissioners, even just the cream on top. It's truly an honor and a blessing for me personally.
So maybe that's a good place to start, because I think a lot of people that will be listening to this podcast know about the CHP in California, but they probably don't know the size of the organization and the complexity that you lead and manage each and every day. Can you give us just a snapshot of the organization?
Yeah, the CHP is California's state police, and probably the size and scope of California. The CHP is the largest state law enforcement agency in the country. There's 11,000 positions in the Highway Patrol. 7,500 of those positions are sworn, and it's a lot more than what you and I grew up watching in CHIPS. It's there's a lot more to it. We have investigative bureaus, we have undercover officers, we have SWAT, K-9, air support, everything that goes with a traditional state law enforcement agency, and so. It's a lot more than just traffic, although that does remain our bread and butter. And the primary focus of our mission is out there serving the people of California and making sure they get to where they're going safely.
Yeah, and you guys do a great job. And just managing the traffic flow in California in and of itself is a challenge.
Yeah, it can get crazy. It's there's a reason people live in California. The weather, it's a great place, but with it does come some congestion on our freeways for sure.
Yeah. So, have there been key moments, or experiences that really have shaped who you've become and how you choose to lead today?
Yeah, I think like any of us, we're a product of our environment. We're a product of what we're exposed to, and I've got to go back and give credit to my parents, who, and I believe that in any public safety, anybody that's a public servant, you could probably go back and see a foundation that was laid by parents that instill characteristics and integrity, and that was truly the case with me. So. Come from a very, very humble family. Grew up, split my childhood in between Alaska and Northern California, and just grateful for my parents. I joined the Army when I was 17 years old, and I like to say the United States Army finished raising me. My mom had to sign the paperwork, and I actually went off to boot camp just a few weeks after I turned 18. But Yeah, definitely the 4 years of service in the Army helped shape me and help expose me to different leadership styles. And then growing up through the Highway Patrol, it's in my 27th year, and good and bad leaders. I think if we're being honest, we probably learn something from both. And so I think it's a combination of all those that have led to who I am today as a person and as a leader.
Well, that's and I think that last point's really, really, really critical. You can learn a lot from a bad leader and what not to do, and you can learn a lot from a very good leader. And if you take both of those and file them away in your own file cabinet, it's pretty helpful as you step into those positions to remember how it felt.
Yeah, I remember when I first came on the job, I just wanted to work the road. I wanted to be a CHP officer, and it was a particularly not a great sergeant that motivated me to take the sergeant's test. It probably something like, man, if he could do that, I sure as heck can. And so it motivated me. Instead of complaining about things, let me see if I can be part of the solution.
Yeah, I had the same experience when I was coming up, as a firefighter, and worked with a couple of lieutenants and captains that were just not very good at what they did. And you kind of look around and you go, well, I think I could do that a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good motivator. But when you hear mission first, people always, what does that mean to you personally?
Well, I love the concept, and I think to me it means you hear we're only as good as the people that we lead, or our organization's only as good as the people that make it up, and I do believe that's true. But we have a job to do. We have a mission to accomplish. I think we're fortunate that we have a mission that anybody that has the heart of a public servant can get behind. Our mission is to provide the highest level of safety, service, and security. In my own words, it means we're going out and helping people when they need help, and we're saving lives. If you can't get behind that mission as a public servant, then you're probably in the wrong line of work. And so I feel fortunate that we have a mission that most can get behind. But as a leader in an organization, especially a law enforcement organization, I feel like I have a responsibility to support the men and women that work for me and work for the Highway Patrol and serve the people of California. And unfortunately, law enforcement officers just in recent history probably haven't felt that way all the time. And so as a leader, I feel like I need to stand up and publicly acknowledge what they do and be one of those that recognizes and not always quick to criticize.
Well, I heard a great story about you, about leading by example, from Gordon Graham, who's a friend of both of ours.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about that, I think there's somebody that you rode with when you were, riding a cycle on the road that was retiring, and you got requalified to go out and ride with him the last day for a little bit.
Yeah, I did it. And that's unheard of. We get off the motorcycle at the rank of sergeant, but I don't know, it felt like the right thing to do, and I wanted to do it. And in full disclosure, got the buy-off from my wife of 30 plus years. She was on board, but the gentleman that was retiring is Sergeant Ryan Kilgore. He's a good leader, good man, and he was retiring after 3 decades of service, and several motors went out for his last ride. And as we greeted him at his house, one by one, they went up and shook his hand. I was the last one in the line, and I'll never forget that when he saw me and just how we greeted each other with a big hug. And we went out and did a ride down Sonoma County coast in California and took him to the office for the last day. He got off the bike and went off to retirement with his family. And as we're riding up through the hills of Petaluma approaching the office, he leaned over at me, and I looked at him. I was like, man, it doesn't get any better than this. It was a special, special day. And so I'll always remember that. Probably one of my best days on the Highway Patrol.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure it was one of his best days as well. I mean, that really sent a message throughout the entire force.
Yeah. I got a bunch of captains that now are wanting to get on the bike. So I'm wondering it may have had a negative impact.
Yeah. We don't want them to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, you talked about the public safety and, how demanding it is, and kind of reference that. But you guys just went through some stuff in L.A., and I was watching that on TV and just kind of wondered what you were thinking as your officers on the front line, taking a lot of heat from a lot of people in the public, and just kind of share what you were going through from a leader's perspective, and what your people were going through.
No, I appreciate that. And it's tough. I'll start with that. It's tough as a leader to know it's heating up. I was talking to some of my top brass and some of the things that were starting to heat up in Los Angeles, leading into the heart of the civil unrest down there. You got a bad feeling, and as you go through these, you can kind of see the writings on the wall that this is going to get worse. So we started moving more and more resources into Southern California, and that night that's been played over and over, where our officers were clearing the freeway, and then they're stuck under the overpass and taking rocks and signposts and scooters and you name it, they're getting it thrown at them. And when I say rocks, they're boulders the size of a helmet getting thrown down on them from 30, 40 feet up. I was actually watching that on a live Twitter feed in my house. It was a Sunday, and I remember telling my wife, I said, "Hey, I'm heading to LA." I had to get down there. I had to see him, and so headed to LA right away, and was able to be there that night as those officers that were attacked and were held under that overpass for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Was able to greet them back at the office and help survey the damage and let them know that more help's en route, and we're going to do everything we can to bring this to a peaceful resolution. And it makes you proud too, those times, how they step up and they stay calm under those situations. And it was a time I'm super proud of all of them and how they handled themselves. Grateful. Nobody got hurt more than they did. We had a couple minor injuries. We had one officer hit with a rock right luckily he had his helmet and his gas mask on at the time, and knocked the gas mask off, and lucky he had that equipment on, otherwise probably would have been a lot worse. But just super grateful. As a leader, you're worried. That's the first thought that comes to your mind. You wish you could be there, and you wish 7,500 officers at my disposal, but none of them were going to get there in time to help them out. And grateful for the Los Angeles Police Department and some of our federal partners that came in and helped us that day in that specific incident.
Well, I'm glad that nobody was seriously hurt, and again, the professionalism that not only your department but the other departments had shown, facing that difficult situation was very, very impressive.
I appreciate it, and that's one thing I'll brag just for a couple seconds on just California law enforcement as a whole, not just our organization, but they and this in California, and I'm sure it's similar in other states. I don't have that experience in other states, but when something like that happens, they step up and they come together. And I haven't found better partners than we've had in trial by fire, literal fire, and then civil unrest. But with Los Angeles Police Department, Los Angeles Fire Department, it's been fantastic, the partnerships that we have there.
Yeah, I've always been impressed with. I've worked in several states, but California by far has the best master mutual aid system, I believe, in the world. I mean, as far as the cooperation between public safety agencies to respond to some of these major type of events and collectively do it in a constructive and very command and control way, if you will. Very impressive.
Yeah, you put it very well. And it's kind of, I find humor in it a little, because we tease each other pre-incident, or we have a little bit of friendly competition with each other. But when the incident happens and the emergency's there, we're all on the same team. We step up and work well together.
Yeah. So, when your leadership is under the microscope, how do you personally model integrity and then at the same time hold the line on accountability?
Yeah, great question. And let me start by saying I don't know of another profession, and I've given this some thought, that is under as much scrutiny as being a police officer in the United States today. I mean, imagine going back to when you were a young firefighter or and having every move, every word, every action, decision videotaped and recorded and from different angles, and having that played back and scrutinized and evaluated. I feel for the police officers that are out there doing the job on a day-to-day basis, regardless of what uniform they're wearing. But because of that, the public expects them to have this high level of integrity and training and accountability. And I feel this responsibility to make sure that we are providing every tool, every resource, both physical and intellectual, that is possible to help them be successful in that environment. That means a lot of training, means a lot of high standards, and it means accountability when mistakes are made. They're only human. We're all human, and they are going to make mistakes. And if those honest mistakes, we're okay with those. We have to learn from those, admit mistakes when we make them, and then move on. But it's a challenging environment to operate in today.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that most people don't understand that some of the decision processes that are made have to be made in milliseconds. But you're judged by, the aftermath of, being able to look at something over, a course of time. But those officers that are in the field, they have to react instantaneously. And, I think that level of judgment and scrutiny is really, really difficult. And oftentimes it's unfair.
I would agree with that. And I think we would, it's easy to judge that, but if you put yourself in their shoes and situation and have a little grace and empathy, I think it can go a long way. So the vast majority, 99.9% of them are out there doing the best that they can and with true intent and with true purpose and trying to serve people. And so I think it's worth mentioning that these are good men and women that want to go out and help people. And sometimes in the most challenging circumstances.
Very, very true. Can you take us back to a time when your values were tested and when the decision wasn't easy, and kind of walk us through how you did that?
Yeah, I think of an instance, and I'll keep names and dates and facts out of it. But early in my tenure as the commissioner, I've been in 2.5 years now. And early in my tenure, I was faced with a decision that needed to hold some leaders accountable. And when you're at the top of an organization this size, you're getting input from all different angles, sources, people you trust and people that should be giving you honest input. And we went down a path that I wasn't comfortable with. It wasn't the wrong path per se, but I feel like I could have done better. And I think I was a little reluctant because I was new in my position to make that tough decision that wouldn't have been popular. The decision I know now in hindsight that I should have done, it wouldn't have been popular, and it would have sent a message that probably a little unprecedented. But in hindsight, that's what I should have done. And I've learned from that. I've learned that get that input, get the opinions. But at the end of the day, you have to be true to yourself as the person in the position that has the authority. And you've got to make those tough decisions, even when they're not always popular. And that's not easy. And I think that's at all levels. But if your goal is to be popular with those that you lead, you're probably in the wrong line of work. Can't always accomplish that.
No, yeah, I've had a similar experience, a couple of them. And when I think you step into a new leadership role, you don't immediately piss people off, if you will, right away. So you can kind of take a softer approach, but in the end, that comes back to bite you sometimes. And because you're setting the tone of the organization by your decision processes. And so if they're looking at you and they think, well, must be a weak leader, he didn't deal with that, or she didn't deal with that correctly. It's difficult though.
Yeah, it is. And it's it's hard to explain until you're in that situation and you experience it for the first time.
No, and that's lessons learned. I think as new leaders, you always go through a little bit of that learning experience to where you understand that you just have to make the right decisions, whether they're going to anger people or not.
Yeah. Well put, Chief.
So what's one leadership lesson that you've learned through a tough season that still sticks with you today?
Yeah, I think for me, I would go back to 2020. If I take you back that time for law enforcement, a lot of the state capitals were targeted for vandalism, protests, and siege. California was no exception. I remember going back to that time, and the lesson I took out of that was, and I thought we handled the issue in California well. But two things I took out of that. One, don't see rank when you're requesting input. And some of the line level personnel have some of the best input. I recently read a book called The Fearless Organization. Amy Edmondson wrote the book, and it talks about how you want people to feel like they can raise their hand and share their opinion. And I saw that a couple times during 2020 as we dealt with it. And we've dealt with a lot of protests. That was probably the first time that we were the reason of the protest, right? The police were the ones being protested, and then you're there trying to protect First Amendment rights, but you're also there trying to defend your people from a physical attack that was focused at them. And so as we brainstormed that as leaders and we got input from line level personnel, I walked away from that thinking that's a good model to, especially in a paramilitary organization. Oftentimes we just bark orders from the top. But when you have time and when you have the luxury to honestly ask and seek input from those, we got some great ideas from lower level people that I think helped shape the direction that we took that here at our Capitol, and it was successful. The other lesson I take away from it is just respect for the men and women when in public safety and in law enforcement, in the California Highway Patrol. Definitely when the crisis happens, they step up and they answer that call, whether it's fires or civil unrest. I remember that incident that I was sharing at the Capitol. I think we were 16, 17 days straight of 16, 17, 18-hour days. And I remember seeing hundreds of CHP officers from all over the state there and engaged and all there for none of them complaining. And it just, as a leader, you step back and you have a lot of respect for that. And so definitely a lesson I took away from that is just the great men and women that are in this profession.
Yeah, and sometimes some of the best ideas in our organizations are at the people, more than not, are on the people that are doing the work every day. And so I think your observation about, asking them, how to proceed with a very difficult situation is admirable on your part, because a lot of leaders won't do that. But some of our best answers are with, the people that are doing the job every day.
And one of the benefits of it is once you do implement the plan, you've got instant buy-in because they've had a voice. Even if you don't go 100% with what they're proposing, the fact that you listen to them, you get that buy-in on the front end.
Yeah, that had to be a really difficult time when you're the target of the civil unrest.
Yeah, it was different for sure, and we had to adjust how we do things. We realized we were becoming a destination for protesters versus allowing them to protest. And so it was interesting. One day we just decided we're going to stand down, so to speak. We took all the riot gear and we took all the platoons and we moved them inside the building. We had one or two officers out there in Class Bs and campaign covers, and the crowd showed up, and immediately you could see it de-escalate. And so you could see the cause and effect based on our posture and how the crowd would react. And so, yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah. Interesting tactic. Yeah, glad that worked.
Well, that time it did.
Yeah. Well, big organization, you're leading change, well-established organization. How do you push forward without losing the alignment in the organization and the momentum you're trying to create as a leader?
I believe you have to remain true to your organization's core values. There's certain things that are non-negotiable. They don't change. Our mission is always to provide the highest level of safety, service, and security. We're going to do that through integrity, courage, honor, principles. Those things should never change. You should remain steadfast to that. If you start to ebb and flow with that, you really lose your moral compass, you lose your direction. Now, having said that, it's easy for an organization, and we've probably fallen victim to this, if we're being honest, in the CHP, where we become mired with our traditions, and you become stuck and not willing to change. And so my philosophy has been with a focus on the line level personnel. For us, it's the officers, the dispatchers, the commercial vehicle inspectors at the lowest level that are doing the core work. Change that helps their job faster, safer, more efficient, better. Those are changes we should be embracing and focused on. And then change that helps our relationship with the public too. As long as it doesn't deviate from those core values, I think that's important. And so I've been very open to change. I've been would be probably considered more progressive than previous administrations. But I think that's all positive, and I think we're heading in the right direction. I think you have to have that mind for change. I hope whoever takes the helm from me changes some of the stuff that I'm doing and continues to progress.
Yep. That's what we hope for. We just lay the foundation and hope somebody comes and continues to build on it. So who were your mentors as you were coming up?
There's two that stand out to me, and I think right place, right time for me. One was a sergeant. His name was Mark McAfee, and what we call Mac. What Mac did for me was he believed in me. You know, he was a young sergeant. I was a young officer. I thought I was going to work the road for 30 plus years. He did not believe that, and he was the one that helped guide me towards my first job off the beat. You know, and I came up. I was a physical training instructor at our academy in West Sac, and it was Sergeant McAfee that helped me see something that I didn't see in myself, and helped me put in for that job and encouraged me. So he was a big influence in me, and always grateful. Still friends with him today. He's retired now, and still stay in touch. Another one that stands out for me was a captain I had early in my career. His name's Larry O'Shea. And Larry wasn't a big flashy man. He very humble. Everybody knew what he stood for. Not afraid to share his feelings in front of the squad. Not afraid to, I've seen him on multiple occasions be very, have a lot of empathy for people as they're going through issues. And he just always struck me as somebody that I wanted to be like, and served with a lot of humility. And that's another one that stands out for me.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with a lot of different leaders, and those that are humble, are the best to work for, I think.
Yeah, they sure do make it easy. They make it you feel like they care about you, and I wish more people had that influence, because
oh yeah,
there are plenty out there that are the opposite of that as well.
Oh yeah, it's about them, and it's not it's not about the mission, it's not about the people, it's about them. So
yeah.
So when all is said and done, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? Not just in your title, but in the people and the profession that you serve.
I hope when I'm done, and it's going to go by fast. I was 2.5 years into this, and probably have 3 to 4 years left. And I've thought about that. It's the things that I dream of accomplishing that time. That clock's running, and so I hope when I'm done, and those that I leave behind will say he was a good man. I hope first and foremost they say he was a good man, that he cared about others, that he cared about the department, that I hope I'm not seen as self-serving or egotistical. I hope they know that there are a lot of things more important to me than this position or this title. Family, God, all those things that are going to be there and long lasting after my title as the commissioner. And so that's first and foremost. I hope I'm seen as leaving my mark on the profession in law enforcement. We are just ripe and just prime time for change, innovation in the profession of law enforcement, not just in California, throughout the country. That drives me. I want to be part of that change. I want to be seen as a leader in law enforcement, not just holding the title or the position, but we're making these positive changes that help fortify relationships with the community, help build up and guide the profession into the next generation, the next evolution, and I hope I can be a part of that.
So how do you, that's really insightful. How do you see technology driving change in your profession?
Oh, I think we're just on the cusp of it personally. I think AI is going to take over, and drones and all these, the real-time crime centers that we're seeing come forward, the ability to fight crime, protect people, serve people. It's going to be a lot less of what we've seen, what I grew up doing on the job, and it's going to be more and more of leveraging this technology to keep our people safe. So I don't even think we've seen the half of it yet, and what's going to happen in the next 10 years will probably make you and I feel like dinosaurs.
Well, yeah, that's probably true. I'm really excited about the changes that are going to happen in public safety. I think there's going to be some dramatic moves in the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, I agree.
So what would you say to the next generation about what it really takes to lead with purpose and impact?
I would say being an effective leader doesn't always equal popular, and they don't go together. And you have to be true to yourself. We touched a little bit on this earlier on, but you have to be true to your core principles. You have to be true to your gut and how you lead and how you feel. And if you're going to be an effective leader, you have to be bold at times, and that doesn't mean you're always going to be popular. And so that can sometimes be tough, but you have to. I think also balance innovation and the desire to change, make sure that's acceptable and the timing's right. Because I guess, we're talking about all this technology. If I just decommissioned the entire fleet of air program for the Highway Patrol and went to a drone, we're probably not there yet, right? And so if we dumped everything into AI, we'd probably have these unintended consequences and issues when it came to report writing and officers' recollection of true events. And so I think for those leaders that are coming behind me, yes, you have to be innovative. You have to embrace that change, but you have to walk at a pace that's acceptable to those that you lead and to the people you serve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's part of, I think, a real challenge for any leader is, you have to leave some things behind in the organization and move on, but there are some things in the organization that you have to carry forward. It's that foundational piece that you build on. I've seen a lot of leaders come in and they just throw everything out and start over again, and totally disrupts the organization.
Yeah, too much, too soon, and you had no continuity.
Yeah. It's a balance, and that's part of that strategic visioning that good leaders have, is to know how to manage that effectively. So if you could offer one piece of advice to those that are coming up behind you about building a meaningful career and leaving something that lasts, what would that be?
I would say be true to yourself and be the best at what you are right now. I believe that. I truly do. I think too many people are looking for the greener pasture on the other side, or they get into a new position and they're already setting their sights or playing the game to figure out how to get to the next position. Be the best at what you are, whether that is if it's an officer or a sergeant or a middle manager, be the best one that department, that agency, that area has ever seen. And if your goal is to continue to move up, the opportunities are there. The opportunities will be given to you, but be really, really good at what you do.
Well, Commissioner Duryee, thank you for spending time with me today and being on the Leadership Crucible podcast. It's been an honor to get to know you and to meet you, and thank you for what you do, and thanks for the men and women of the California Highway Patrol. They do an exceptional job, and we really appreciate the service each and every day.
Chief, thank you. Thank you for your service, not just in the fire and throughout your career, but what you continue to do. A lot of admiration and respect for those that retire and retire to something, not from something. And you're definitely providing a service, and grateful to you and the work that you do in that space.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for joining us on the Leadership Crucible podcast. If you enjoyed today's content, make sure you tap on the subscribe button, share this with a friend, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. For more resources, check out the description below, sign up for our monthly newsletter, and visit our website at theleadershipcruciblefoundation.org. Feel free to leave us a comment and connect with us on social media at the links below. We'll see you next time.